Hi there, everybody. Dr. J, Steve Jensen from the National Sales Academy and Impact Training Corporation. Thanks for joining me today for a little quickie, and it's all about future pace and retrograding. Well, they're funny words, aren't they? When it comes down to selling, it's actually quite interesting. It's the language we use and the framing that we do that makes all the difference. For those of you that have studied some NLP or neuro-linguistic programming or any type of conversational communication, that sort of language is quite fundamental to you. But for those of you that have not gone down that track on working with psychology or with NLP or any type of, let's say, biomechanical process which is language orientated, this is just a quick, let's say, process that you can put into practice to help people feel comfortable with your conversation. When it comes down to actually talking to people, talking about past experiences and experiences that they will have in the future is either future pacing or retrograding. In other words, going the other way. So it's either into the future or into the past, or whatever the process is important to the person. So future pacing is what most people know how to use. What's future pacing? Future pacing is talking about what people are going to do in the future. But where it comes unstuck is if we don't put it into context or into a time frame. Future pacing is great when you ask them about their feelings or what they're going to do or what they're going to say. In other words, are doing an adjective in the future. And also you might ask them what would happen in the future if they didn't make a good decision now. And sometimes they're quite straightforward questions. So when can you use future pacing? Well, after you've actually found somebody's challenge and asked them a few questions about what they think they are going to be doing in the future about that challenge. Or before they've even told you the challenge, let's go one step back and tell them, what was your thoughts about what you're going to do in the future? And then put a time frame in the next 12 months or the next 3 months or the next 2 weeks. What are you going to be doing? What do you think would be the best thing to do to fix that problem? Or given that you've come to talk to me about X, what's your plans now before we get into it? In other words, talking about what their future pace has been. And when they've actually told you some of the things that they've been thinking it might be a great idea, then go with it. But normally what happens is that they've come to you, they said, well, I've got this problem now, I don't know what to do in the future. So what you can do is you can then start painting a picture after you have found out what the real challenges are. Now, here's the big mistake. A lot of people don't ask the person with specificity what the challenges are. In other words, when they start to tell you, you need to ask them some questions like, interested, tell me more. Write it down, use the trusty pen to write things down, and then just stop them and recap. And once you've actually found out what their challenges are, then in the qualification stage, talk about, what we could do is to start with this, and then we would go to that. And would that feel comfortable for you? Do a little bit of a stop, and then take them into the future. How good is it going to be once we've actually fixed the challenge and you're all feeling great, or you've got peace of mind, you've had a wonderful holiday, you've moved into your wonderful house. So you talk about the good stuff, and they'll say, oh, it's terrific. And you take it away and say, what would happen in the future if you didn't and you stayed exactly the same? Well, that'd be a disaster. Well, don't worry, we can fix that by going and fixing it for the future. A future pace is asking them how they're going to feel in the future if they make a good decision. A future pace can actually talk about the things they're going to do in the next 3 to 5 weeks. This is your journey. How good is that going to be? So you're taking them into the future. This is a nice way of giving the person gratification and hope. And here's a little bit of a handy hint. When you always go to the future, don't just give it on hearsay. Always show them proof. Make sure there's some proof about what you're saying that could possibly happen, because you maybe have historical things that have happened in the past. So that's how you can use your future pacing. In pre-qualification, once you've found out their problem, stop, recap what it is. What have they got planned? Nothing. Future pacing. Then you give them an idea of some time frames in the next first weeks, and then the next 6 weeks, and so forth. It's all good to go. How good are you going to be in 6 months' time when it's all done and dusted? Then take it away. What would happen if you stayed the same or did the same in the same position? Don't worry, we can fix it. Future pacing. Now, the other way of doing it is called retrograding. Retrograding is something that a lot of people don't even know or talk about. We call it retrograding because it goes back into their past. One of the things that we created many years ago is a process called linking in. It links into the conversation before you go into qualification. So as to tell us, when in the past was everything going great? So you take them back into the past. What were you doing? What was happening then? How are you feeling? Get him back. And then you say, well, my goodness gracious, do you want to get back to where you used to be, or better, or somewhere in between? They usually say, oh, I want to be better than before, or exactly where I used to be because I'm in a disaster position now. So that's going backwards in time. So that can actually magnify the compelling reason. Or it could give you, this is important, it could give you where they want to be again. See, once they've actually said they've been there before, and they said, I was happy, do you want to get back to there or somewhere in between or better? Some people say, I'll be happy with half that. That's going backwards. Now, here's another way of using retrograde. After you've actually found the challenge and you can say you can fix it, stop and say, let me just ask you an important question here. What do you think would have happened? Or let's say, where do you think you would be, or circumstance you'll be in, if you'd actually got in contact with me a year or 6 months ago? What do you think your circumstance would be now? If they say, I'd be in a lot better position, I'd be happier, I'd be much more relaxed, I've lost a lot of weight, I'd be moved into my beautiful home, I'd have a lot less pain. That means that they believed what you said. You've proven it. So say, hey, what would have happened? What would be your circumstances if you'd actually found this out ages ago? We connected then. We'd actually shown you this product and or service, or you'd met me. And if they say, I'd be better off, you know that you're almost there to make a decision to move forward. Retrograde and prograding, in other words, future pace, or going backwards in time, is a really great skill to learn. I recommend that when we actually do this, when you're talking to people, you do a line. Now, we all know that in the brain, that usually the left-hand side is usually going to the past, about 80% of people, right? And the right-hand side is to the future. We can usually test that out by asking them future questions and past questions. I recommend past questions, and people usually look to that part of their brain. So you see it with the eye patterns. That's another day. But I recommend that you have an arrow going across your page, with a little arrow going to the left-hand side about, tell me about the past, what would have happened if you found me 6 months ago. Have a little line so you're drawing their attention. And then if you're going to the future, say how good is this going to be, and move to their right. Lots of things to play with. And when we do our soft skills, when we get together in the sales authority club, when we get together once a quarter, we teach them the soft skills and using hand gestures and using eye patterns and all those wonderful things, which is the secret sauce to actually make a big difference, to actually have people make decisions. Now, if you'd like to know more about all those sorts of things or some other little tips, you can have a sales growth plan with us. We're completely free and give you some insights. So just write down yes in the comments. I'd love to be able to help you. And let's reach out and let's connect. Or you could join our Sales Success Club. It's completely free in Facebook. Just answer a couple of questions, and lots of good little tips and some strategies and training that we do as well, and tons of resources. Okay, hope you found that interesting. Put it into practice. Future pace or retrograde. I'm Dr. J, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.